We are about to go deep on on-chain investigation regarding the 80,000 dormant BTC that were moved last week. And that movement alone is amounting for 0.63% of the entire circulating supply of Bitcoin, yet that has been completely overlooked by every single content creator. Mainstream media is not talking about that. That might be a systemic risk for this entire crypto bull run. That poses a threat to Bitcoin itself. That's a big red flag. In fact, when I went on-chain and I started to make my own investigation, I had to contact someone else because that was getting out of my reach. When I went on-chain and conducted my own investigation, I was 100% convinced this was not the typical whale movement. So I did contact someone, an on-chain expert that has years of experience on on-chain data. I immediately contacted an expert on chain. That's the equivalent of a blockchain forensics, if you know. So I did send a message to onchainschool.com, and he did confirm what he had seen on chain is absolutely game changer. That's a systemic threat to BTC. So we are about to dive in on his personal investigation. He speaks Spanish. So he did share his entire on-chain analysis, and I do speak Spanish as well. So I took the time to translate every single piece of evidences. And we're going to display that on the screen right now. So let's get started. What's up, Ido? How are you doing? Thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be on your channel. Let's go straight to the point. The 80,000 Bitcoin that were moved on July the 4th, only a few days ago, and most of people are acting like it never happened. However, this is a historic moment. Something of this scale has never occurred in the history of blockchain. That's why we need to investigate the data. I don't like working with speculation. I go with the facts. And this is on-chain data. There are tons of theories. Who is behind it? Why did it happen? What does it mean? But today, we are focusing on verifiable information. I started researching this on July the 4th, and I have already discovered some wild stuff. Other analysts have joined me, and now we've got a mountain of curious informations. Let's understand the magnitude of these events. We can see it clearly using a metric called spend output age. This metric shows how long the BTC that was moved was sitting idle. And here it is. The 80,000 BTC spike stands out above everything else. Nothing in Bitcoin's history even comes close. This kind of data wasn't even possible until 2020 because only then did UTXO started aging past 10 years. These 80,000 BTC are ancient coins, and their movement is unprecedented. There's a similar case, this orange bar right here, that's from Mt. Gox back in 2024. Those coins also had been sitting for years, around 7 to 10 years long, but their movement made sense. They were headed to distribution wallets and then to exchange wallets to repay users. That was a logical and expected outcome. This new case is absolutely more serious. So now let's look at the data. Right now, there are 8 green wallets, each one with around 10,000 BTC. That's where the 80,000 Bitcoins ended up. And those coins came from yellow wallets. That's what we call the consolidation wallets. Almost all the BTC flowed through these yellow wallets before reaching the green ones. There are 2 main sources for the BTC. The transaction history shows that they received a BTC on April 2nd, 2011. That's when 10,000 BTC went in. Then again, on June the 4th, 2024, a transfer of 9,999 BTC. So we are talking about coins that sat idle since 2011. That alone is a proof these are OG Satoshi era coins. Where did they originally come from? We see multiple transactions. Each arrow on the map is a transaction. Each square is a wallet. The majority of these Bitcoins come from one source, mined BTC. We are talking about Coinbase rewards. The reward miners get they mine a block, lots of 50 BTC transactions from late 2010 to early 2011. This is early Bitcoin history. The coins moved through a couple of wallets. They landed in the yellow consolidation wallets. Then on July 4th, got pushed into the green wallets. But here is where everything changes. Some of these coins came from a transaction pattern that's extremely hard to face. So complex that no current software can follow it to the end. The pattern is called pill transaction. Basically, one transaction enters, two transactions leave. Then each of those splits again, and then again. It goes 5 levels deep, generating thousands of transactions. I have already spent 2 hours digging into this exact pattern, and I am not alone.
That of this amount, one transaction came in and two came out. Out of 2,600 we see around here, and another one came out of 2,625 and another of 42. And in turn, from those other two transactions, then in two others. We're going to this one, which is where I came in. Here we can see that 2,000 came out in two transactions as well, where it was already 2,003 and 41 and so on excessively. So, of this other transaction of 42 bitcoins, 2 were also divided. And all this up to 5 levels, generating a number of thousands of transactions, which is not today due to the complexity.
These entities behind over 1% of the entire BTC supply, they implied sophisticated mechanisms that in 2025, we have nothing similar on the markets, not only to perform such a high volume of transactions, but to do it in such a way that is almost impossible to track it down. The sheer volume overwhelms the tools. It's clear the complexity is intentional. So why go through the trouble of hiding your tracks this deeply? Because it's expensive and very hard to do this unless you are the original miner. So if you are the miner, you keep both the block rewards and the fees. And yes, you can afford to just make everything very shady. This lines up with one of my favorite long-standing theories. The Satoshi coins have never stopped moving. There is no wallet with 1 million BTC. The myth comes from small sums in wallets that follow Satoshi mining patterns. It's a bait, it's just a distraction. The real movement is happening quietly and in the background all the time. And these coins almost always move during bull markets, rarely at the bottom, always near the top. Now let me get this straight. Everyone talks about the 1 million BTC that's held by Satoshi. And again, we are being played. Everyone is looking on that direction and everyone's thinking, when's gonna Satoshi move the 1 million BTC? The real action is happening on this side. Everyone's distracted with Satoshi's wallet, that's just noise. They don't need to move Satoshi's wallets. All these Bitcoin that were mined in the earliest days on 2010, 2011, all of these BTC that were mined in a short period of time, we're talking about approximately 17 million BTC back in 2010 and 2011. That's the real systemic threat for BTC that nobody's talking about. If someone moves 80,000 BTC to a crypto exchange and market sells, Bitcoin would crash below $10,000. We are operating under a low liquidity environment, and it's absolutely scary to think that people are going all in on a coin such as Bitcoin. They sell in their houses when we have such a big amount of BTC supply that is centralized in the hand of few individuals and entities. I don't think that's a private person. That's absolutely something behind the scenes. That's an entity, a financial institution, perhaps the NSA. Let's talk about security now.
As you can see, these consolidation wallets that start with 1. This is an old format called legacy, and we see that wallets have passed that start with, this is a new format. This is the old one, and this is the new format that is called native SegWit. And this native SegWit format has greater security. It has an advantage for fees, and we often see changes from old coin wallets to new wallets, from these old legacy wallets to native SegWit. And it is that out of all the ones we have, suddenly there is one that does not meet the standard, does not meet that standard of security, which we could say is the fault that this is being changed from one wallet to another. So it is rare that 7 and 1 do not comply with it.
Before the BTC moved on July 4th, some of those wallets moved coins on Bitcoin Cash. That tells us the same person controlled the private keys for both networks. They likely tested the transfer on BCH first before doing the real move on Bitcoin. And that's a very common safety measure. Could it be someone who just recovered their keys? Well, it's possible. I have seen cases where people become billionaires overnight after finding the lost keys, but usually they send something to an exchange. Even 100 BTC to just cash out a little. In this case, nothing, no exchange transfers, no spending, just silence. So this might not be over. These old wallets still have more secrets to reveal. And this brings us back to one major red flag. The change in wallet formats wasn't consistent. Some coins followed the upgrade, others didn't. Now the big question is why? That doesn't make sense if the same person controls all of them. Also, the whole structure of these transactions is just too complex, too intentional. This isn't normal behavior. Unless it's being done by a miner, only a miner would benefit enough to go through this kind of trouble. They would have the rewards, the fees, and the motive to hide everything. And here's another weird part. Some of these wallets look self-generated. Not random, but almost like they were encoded on purpose. These identifiers feel intentional, like they contain hidden messages. This one contains the word fuck, and also this one contains the word dick. I have seen wallet IDs for years, but these ones absolutely stand out. They just feel different, and finally the date, it all went down on July the 4th, not just any day, but Independence Day in the United States. A symbolic date. I don't think there's a coincidence. We can't just move on from this. It's only been a week and people are already forgetting. But this is a massive anomaly, one that could hold close to something much bigger. The biggest threat to Bitcoin that nobody's talking about is the 80,000 dormant BTC that were moved on the 4th of July. If they market sell, that would have catastrophic consequences for BTC. It might never recover at all. We could see BTC plunging below $10,000. That might be the catalyst for XRP to overtake BTC as number one coin. And that could trigger the crypto reset, where utility coins would drive the markets and no longer for speculative assets like BTC. I want to send a special thanks for On-Chain School for making this video possible. You're going to find the links on the description of this video. Subscribe to his channel. He's a fantastic on-chain analyst. I'm really deeply thankful for him for making this information available for us. And now let me know in the comments what you think about this analysis. I truly appreciate you for watching this video. I'm going to see you in the next video. Done.